Hello, my name is Julie, and you all are picking out my book today. There's nothing I love more than other people picking what I do for the day or giving me reading prompts, that sort of thing. I think my love for scavenger hunt and side quests really makes me love reading prompts. And a long time ago, there was a video that went around on BookTube of the bookish scavenger hunt challenge where you would go through your bookshelf and pick up a book and find something in that book with a prompt, and that would lead you to the next book. And that was a video concept that I really liked, but what I wanted to do is have other people pick the prompts for me. So I am currently in the parking lot of my public library, and I am going to go through those prompts. So basically how this works is I'm going to find a book that I have given 5 stars, and there is a list of 10 prompts. For example, one of them is find a book with I think it was a similar color cover. So I'm going to, based on that book, I'm going to find a different book that is like that. Filming in the library is going to be interesting. I planned this out, but I'm filming this on a whim. So we'll see how it goes. And I'm going to read the book eventually, not right now. And we'll see how it goes. All right, time to find my book. So welcome to my trip to the library. I started by dropping off my 2 books and then, as always, going to the staff pick section at the front. And I was originally going to find Bunny by Mona Awad as my first book, but the first 5-star book that I found was Sorrowland. Our first prompt is to find a book that has a similar item or subject on the cover. So I decided to find a book that had a hand and flowers on it. Luckily, right nearby was this book that had a flower and a hand. So the next prompt was to find the book in the library with the most similar title. So this title was You Made Me Love You. I went to the computer and I didn't find a whole lot of options, but the closest that came up was My True Love Gave to Me, which is a YA anthology. So I looked in Perkins. It was not there. I should have paid more attention. It was actually shelved in My. And then the next prompt was to find a book by an author with the same first name. So since there's so many authors, I decided to go with Stephanie, the editor. And the first author whose name was Stephanie that came up was Stephanie Garber. So I found a Stephanie Garber book. And the next prompt was to go to the nearest display. So I walked over to the front of the YA section, and there is a bunch of new releases. So I picked up Blood Like Fate, and I had to find a book that had a similar color scheme. So I decided to go to the adult fantasy section, and I found a Seanan McGuire book under a Deborah Baker. Then I had to find the book that is physically closest to it that I've already read, and there were 2 options. There was I, Robot, and there was Upon a Burning Throne, and I decided through the power of geometry that Upon a Burning Throne was closer, which is awful, because the next prompt was to find a book with the same amount of pages to the nearest 10. This took so long. I went through the entire shelf of fantasy. This is half of the fantasy books that my library has, until I finally found a Stephen King book called Hearts in Atlantis that had 672 pages. Then I had to find a book that it was in the same place on a different shelf. So I had to pick the 12th book over on the shelf 3rd from the top. And I had to find a book that had authors thanked in the acknowledgments. This was actually harder to find than I thought, but I picked up The God of Lost Words by A.J. Hackworth. I've actually DNF'd this trilogy, but I found C.L. Polk in the acknowledgments, which was the only author in any of the acknowledgments that I found that I actually recognized. So I found the C.L. Polk section on the other side of the shelf. For our last prompt, I had to flip to a random page and find the word in the exact middle. I physically counted how many rows down, that was 17, and found the word in the middle, which was hair. So I went to my Goodreads to find a book that had hair in the title, and the only book on my TBR with hair in the title is Hairpin Bridge by Taylor Adams. So from all that, we picked Hairpin Bridge. But I did not check out Hairpin Bridge. This was on hold for me because I actually own Hairpin Bridge, and that was the only book on my shelves at all that had the word hair in it. I'm totally excited to read this because No Exit is one of my favorite thrillers of all time. I'm hoping that this gives similar type of thriller vibes, even if it's not an isolated setting. So now it's time for me to read my book.
Hello. It has been a couple weeks, but I am finally reading Hairpin Bridge. So if I haven't told you what this is about before, this is about Lena, who is a twin, and her twin sister, who is living on the road, essentially, for several months. Eventually got to this bridge in Montana that is known for people jumping off of it, and she died. Lena thinks that there are enough suspicious circumstances that her twin did not commit suicide, that she actually was murdered. So we have perspectives of Lena right now, and we also have Lena's blog posts as she's talking about what she's finding out. And there's also Lena writing down what her interpretation is of her twin's last day. So she's kind of making things up. So it's unclear how much of it is true. It seems like we've also flipped to a cop's perspective, so maybe we will get more than just Lena, but I'm unsure about this so far. Since finding out that this is what I'm going to be reading, I have heard like not great reviews of this. I am 60 pages in, roundabouts, and this is 300 pages. I think I'm going to read a little bit more of this and then take a nap, but hopefully I should be a good portion into this by the end of the day. It's a couple hours later. I have gotten to page 120. I've been on my phone for way too long. I need to put it away. This is not driving me to keep reading it like No Exit was. Maybe it was the audiobook or something, but this is a little bit different than I expected. So Lena meets up with the cop who found her sister. Her sister's name is Cambry. We are still at that encounter. I believe that that's going to be this whole book. I thought that this was going to be a little bit more of a typical mystery thriller, but like No Exit, this is one scene essentially, which I'm not sure how I'm going to like it either way. I'm a little bit confused about the idea of having Lena write Cambry's whole like last day, because it isn't actually Cambry's perspective, so it gives me the question like, what's the point? I know she's trying to reconstruct thing, but it's very fine details and everything, and I'm like, I don't know how I feel about it. And I also don't remember if I've seen this tagged as unreliable narrator before. I mean, I get that she would be an unreliable narrator, but I'm curious to see if a good amount of this turns out to not be true. Let's keep going. I said, oh, I wasn't getting through this as fast as No Exit, but I am page 210 of 300. It's possible that I could finish this tonight. I am a little tired. It is 1 a.m, and I am watching the Hurricanes game, and it is currently the longest game in franchise history. They are going into their 4th overtime period, so during the intermission, I will be continuing to read. And we have had an identity reveal, but I have a guess for a different identity reveal. Let's see if I finish this tonight.
Hello, we're back where we started in my car. I did not finish Hairpin Bridge last night. I got to about page 240, 250, and then I was like, why don't I just try to sleep? I know I'm not tired. I fell asleep immediately. So I have a couple of errands that I'm going to run, and then we're going to finish it up. But I thought I'd take you with me. So I'm gonna get my breakfast. It's like 1, but it's breakfast. Get a bagel, and then get some groceries because my apartment has very little food in it because I was trying to eat all the food and I was gonna be going home, whatever. What am I thinking so far? Okay, so I was worried about how true Cambry's story was that Lena is putting together, and it does seem that she is mostly constructing it from the police report. For the most part, it should be true. The major plot beats should be true. There were things that I questioned immediately that were taken as fact that turn out to be pretty much fact. This does have more vibes similar to No Exit in terms of the type of story that it is than I thought. It is a very limited cast, limited timeline, only taking place in that one spot. Survival thriller, who's gonna make it out alive. There's not a whole lot I can say without it being spoilers. I have like one guess for the end, and that's it. So we'll see if I'm right.
So you just saw me finish Hairpin Bridge by Taylor Adams, the randomly picked book that you all found for me. And you know what? I liked this more than the last couple things that I had heard about this book made me think. No Exit, I believe, is my favorite thriller of all time, pretty close up there. It hasn't got much of a mystery element, and it's more suspense thriller, who's gonna make it out alive. This has more of a mystery element than No Exit did. I think I was a little bit more invested in the mystery than the thriller. I was wrong about the plot twist that I thought might happen, but I was kind of close. A very similar twist did happen. This was a solid mystery thriller. I think that Taylor Adams really does a good job in the thriller action area where we have people who are attacking each other. There's the evil people trying to get their way, and then there's the good person who's trying to escape. I liked that our main character is very prepared. I do think it's interesting that in both of his books, and I think the book of his that just came out, that all of them are female protagonists instead of male protagonists. And I've noticed that a lot, that male thriller authors like to write about final girls and everything, and I don't know how I feel about that. This also is a white male author writing a female Asian protagonist, but because her ethnicity didn't have anything to do with the plot of the book, I don't think that that was bad. Overall, while I did keep getting distracted by my phone, obviously I finished this thing in like 24 hours, and when I was reading it, I was flipping through it really quickly. In No Exit, I was being propelled by wanting the characters to be safe, versus in this, I was a little bit more interested in solving of the mystery. I didn't necessarily need things to turn out okay. I think this is a thriller that a good amount of people would like. It's not a new favorite thriller of mine, but it was super easy to get through and gave me some more energy to read some more. So thank you so much to everybody who sent me prompts to find a book. Maybe I'll do this again in the future and find a different way to pick up a random book. I don't know when I would have gotten to this otherwise, and I haven't really read that many thrillers this year, so this is a definite change of pace. So maybe that means I'll be picking up more thrillers in the next couple of months. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you would like to find me anywhere, my link is in the description to my Instagram, my Etsy, everything I do bookish on the internet. Especially if you want to help make one of these videos in the future, I am always putting polls up on my Instagram for you to control my reading, because I love doing that sort of thing. Again, thank you so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next one.